Normally we would do introductions, but since we just have Gary Harrop here, we're going to skip introductions and we can go right into the presentation. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have to move on to electing a chairperson for the meeting.
Jordan, wanna take that role? I'll elect Jordan. I'll second. You did great last year.
Okay.
Who's the second? Maribeth? Maribeth.
Are there any other nominations?
Yeah, I think you have to ask for 3 times.
No,
No.
if there's a unanimous vote, no.
Okay, well then, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Well, thank you. Item number 5 on our annual meeting agenda is to designate a clerk for the meeting. The clerk of the school board is not present, but thank you, Barb, for making it here. So Barb Stotts will be our clerk for the meeting. Agenda item number 6 is to approve the minutes of the last annual meeting from October 22nd of 2018.
So moved.
Second,
Whoa.
sorry.
James and Isaiah,
Oh, that was, yeah.
any discussion or any questions?
Marlboro, yeah. What baritone?
None.
None, we're good.
Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries. Item number 7, the State of the Schools report. Just wanted to provide some brief information, very big picture information, just kind of regarding the school district and some things that I think are important to note relative to where we're at and things we're working on. So the biggest piece that I would say is, if you recall, in April of 2018, we had over 90 community members give 12 hours of their time to participate in our Future Search conversation. And from that Future Search conversation, we created a strategic dashboard which had key areas identified that we wanted to focus on in terms of improving and working on as a school district. God bless you. And as I reflect on that dashboard and progress that we've made, there's a few things that I think fit right in line for sure, and support the fact that we've taken that feedback very seriously. First up, community partnerships was one thing that was talked about at that time. And we have many examples of community partnerships, whether it's on things like school safety. The one example that to me is a shining example in this area is our community partnership with our Tech Ed Advisory Board. That group has actively been meeting and has made substantial progress in just offering ideas for curriculum instruction, providing youth apprenticeship opportunities for our students in the community. Academics, the work that's been done in our schools with essential standards, school improvement. We've seen some of the growth, if you will, or progress that we've made with our school report card, with our students' performance on standardized tests and state assessments, and we're really making progress in that area as well. Financial standpoint, as you'll hear shortly from Cheryl when she shares out in our budget, through the support of our community and passing our operational referendum last year, being on firm financial ground for the next 5 years from an operational standpoint is certainly something that I think will then help us work on other items, which then transitions right into facilities, master planning with facilities, once again getting feedback from our community this year, then some examples of things that we've done already, the AG, Tech Ed, and art remodel that we did this last year. We really recently had our open house, which was very well received, very positive feedback, and then this year, the facility project that the board is supporting with our LED lighting project here at the middle school, high school, which will end up saving us approximately $26,000 annually on energy costs once that's completed. So a lot of good progress there as well. And then staff development, our new teacher project, supporting our new teachers, supporting all staff members through collaboration and professional learning communities. And then last but certainly not least, our school safety, both facilities enhancements through the school safety grant and through district dollars, and then our training for our staff members the last couple of years. So the summary of the summary is I feel like we've made progress in a lot of key areas that our community wanted us to focus on. We continue to work on those items and hopefully can continue to show growth and improvement in those areas as well. At this time, I am going to ask that Cheryl Knowles, our business manager, comes to the front of the room to address our budget summary report and a review of the 1920 budget.
Welcome to our budget hearing. So I want to go over a few key items. I will show you a review of each of the funds. We have multiple fund accounting, so I will go through a summary of each one of those. A change in total expenses, and I'll explain a little bit about that. What makes up our funding as far as from the state and local dollars. A summary of a change in property value and what that does to our mill rate. I have a summary of the referendums that we've had in the past 10 years. And Jordan mentioned a few of them, but what's going to be going on in 2019-20. Our proposed Fund 10 budget and our tax levy. So this first slide, and I'll try to reference the numbers, page numbers. If I forget, remind me. This chart is on page 8. The top portion is a summary of the total budget for Fund 10, Fund 27, and Fund 50. So you'll see Fund 10 is the general fund, Fund 27 is special ed, and Fund 50 is food service. And then the middle section shows some of the bigger ticket items. Obviously, salary and benefits is the biggest portion of the total budget. And then the bottom section shows the balance of our debt, which our last payment will be made this fiscal year in March of 2020. If you look at the table on page 13, this slide summarizes the Fund 10 revenues and expenses. In the middle, you'll see the revenue portion, and you'll notice that the majority of our revenue comes from local sources and the state sources. The state sources is our equalized aid and some other state funding, and then the local sources is like our fees that we collect, as well as our tax levy to the taxpayers. And that's the biggest portion of where the revenue comes from. You'll also notice that the revenues and the expenses match, so we're proposing a balanced budget for the year. Fund 21 and 27. Fund 21 is like donations, and recently in July of 2019, there was a law change for student activity accounts. We had some of the student activity accounts already in Fund 21, but we migrated our Fund 60 accounts over to Fund 21 accounts due to the law change. So you'll see the impact of that in just a few minutes. Sorry, this is on page 15. And And you'll see, there's a negative in the fund, in the revenue and expenses, over expenses, over on the right-hand side, that's 16,000. And that is actually from Fund 21. Fund 27 cannot have a fund balance at the end of the year. We transfer monies from 10 to cover Fund 27, so that is from the Fund 21s. And that, the reason for that is we carry over their dollars, so some of the revenue came in last year, but will be spent this year, so that's the variance there. Fund 38 is our debt fund, so you'll see that will be, some of the tax dollars that we collect will be put into Fund 38 to pay out of Fund 38 for our debt payment. And then our food service fund, Fund 50. Again, we're still trying to get to a self-sustaining program. Right now, the operating transfer, the top line, over on the proposed $30,064, is the amount that we're expected to transfer. This is on page 17. And part of the reason that it's looking back up to 30,000 this year is we have some empty positions right now, and we don't know as far as benefits. You know, I've projected family benefits. If perhaps they take single benefits, that would impact this transfer. And also making the change of going in-house with a food service director. So there's a lot of gifts right there. I would like to also back up just for a second to the Fund 21-27 page. I forgot to mention the operating transfer from Fund 21, from Fund 10 to 27 is proposed at 1.5 million for this year.
So that piece, just real quick, when people talk about the state funding special education at a higher percentage, that number would indicate that the state could really fund special education at a higher percentage, because our Fund 10 general fund transfer to Fund 27 is projected at $1.5 million. The state reimbursement this year is going up to 26% and up to 30% the following year in the state budget. That's already in there. But even at that rate, clearly our transfer is still in the same ballpark of $1.5 million.
And last year, the reimbursement was at 24.5. So it's going up a little bit. Here shows the last 3 years of total expenditures for all funds. So the previous 2 years did not include the Fund $60. So that is part of the reason for the increase. And then of course, we had our salary benefits increase. The health insurance went up 2% this year, which is the first increase that we've had since July of 2015 when we switched to Unity. And again, the Fund 60 coming over into the Fund 21s, because Fund 60 was never in this calculation because those are student dollars. This is on page 18. So this shows the last 7 years of equalized property value. You'll notice from 13, 14, 15, 16 was pretty flat, and then started to increase at a little higher rate each year. But from 13, 14 to 19, 20, it's increased 21%, a little over 21%. And this year, it increased 7.14%. So that it definitely makes an impact on our mill rate. So here's a summary of the equalized value per municipality. The lowest increase that we had this year was the town of Berry at 3.7%, and the highest was the village of Black Earth at 11.4%. So all that building that Jordan talks about is now making an impact on the equalized value. This is on page 10. And what this shows is how we're funded. So you'll see that 82.2% of our funding comes from local dollars. And then the 17.8 comes from the state aid that we receive. You'll also notice at the top of page 10, it shows the aid and the levy distribution by dollar amounts.
On that piece, one thing that people asked about a little bit during the referendum process, when there was talks about things changing at the state level, they brought up the notion of 2/3 funding. Like, well, I thought the state was going to get back to 2/3 funding. It's important to know, just if you have those conversations with people as time goes on, or when you have those conversations, perhaps at the state level, if the governor is able to increase school funding the next couple of years, make a state get to that level, they may. But our local reality, if people wonder, is that 82.2% of our funding is coming from local taxpayers, not the state. And that's the result of us being considered property rich. The fact that our property value per pupil is very high. So just, that was one thing that I know I had a few people call me last year during the referendum and say, well, I can't understand how you need this money if you're 2/3 funded. And I tried to explain to them that just because the state average was somehow 2/3 does not mean at a local level we're close to 2/3. So I just wanted to point that out as a talking point if it ever comes up.
Here's a slide showing our referendum dollars over the last 10 years. So I only put, we have the referendum that was passed in April of 2019 is 2.2 million for 5 years. I only have the first year on there because I wanted to show the historical. So what's new in 2019-20? We're going to be getting underway with our LED lighting project for the middle school, high school. We have put up a new storage shed at this location as well. And also the nice bleacher railings were put in last week. And then we got a lot of new tech ed equipment, which you guys are aware of. And the majority of that was purchased with grant dollars. So for the revenue, percentage of the equalized aid versus special adjustment aid, what this refers to is if we are going to receive less than 85% of the aid that we received the year before, then the state would make that up in special adjustment aid. You can see the last 2 years, we haven't had that situation. 1 year previous to that, we did, and then 2, we didn't. So a lot of times that kind of goes hand in hand with enrollment and decreasing enrollment. So it helps when the enrollment is steady or increasing some. Sorry, I gotta make sure that I didn't skip one there. On page 18, you'll see an 18-year average of equalized values, tax levies, and mill rates. So you'll notice this year there was the equalized value increase. The monetary dollars for the tax levy is increasing, but the mill rate is actually going down. So because the amount of money that we're collecting through the taxes is being divided over a larger amount of property value, that makes the mill rate go down. So the decrease in the mill rate is $49 per 100,000. So if you have an average house at $200,000, your taxes will be decreasing by $98. This chart is on page 14. And this is the proposed Fund 10, general fund expenses, and the way the board approves it is by two-digit functions. And then if during the year I have to do transfers to cover in between functions, that's when I do budget revisions and I bring it back to you in the spring to make those changes. So the total Fund 10 budget that we're proposing is $11,693,775. Does anybody have any questions?
Is that on page 10 for everyone?
Oh, sorry. It's on page 14.
Oh,
See, I told you I forget. Any questions?
Thanks for your work, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome job, Jared. Nice job. That's good.
Thank you, Cheryl. Moving right along then, we will go to item number 10, new business. And at this point, entertain a motion for resolution number 1, the authorization for the adoption of a tax levy for the 2019-20 fiscal year.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Isaiah. And James. Any discussion or questions on that? Hearing none, all of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 1 carries. We have a motion for resolution number 2, the authorization for the provision of school board salaries and reimbursements. Gary, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Cindy? Any discussion or questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 3, the authorization for the provision of hot lunch and breakfast programs.
So moved.
Second. Isaiah and Mike. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution carries. And resolution number 4, the authorization for provision of legal proceedings on behalf of the district.
So moved.
I'll second.
Gary and Cindy. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Agenda item number 11, establish a date for the 2020 annual meeting. It's PM on October 26, 2020. That is correct, it's a leap year. That's why it's 2 days different. I double checked because I wasn't sure myself.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Cindy and James. Any questions or discussion on that item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Agenda item number 12. Any other items anyone would like to bring up at the annual meeting? If not, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. Isaiah and Mike.
6:26.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned at 6:26 PM. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Gary.
Yes, thank you, Gary.
Cheryl, you want to pause that real quick? For our 3-minute transition?